What's up guys, so I'm home from the gym now. It's the same day. I just had my post-workout meal, and as you saw by the title, we're gonna get into how to increase your deadlift, or the title was how to get a 300 kg plus deadlift, but bottom line, the point of this video is to explain essentially how you can increase your deadlift and how I got my deadlift to where it is now, and the general tips that I've learned over my years of deadlifting that I think that you can apply to your training and make really good gains with it. So as you can probably tell by that session, I'm pretty tired right now. I trained legs, first session back, so if my energy isn't where it usually is, that is why, but I'm still gonna try my best. So either way, let's just get straight into the video. So in terms of tips for getting a stronger deadlift, I would say number one is establishing a good and safe form. And this is because if you get stronger on an incorrect form, it's like building a house on poor foundations. It's bound to crumble at some point. And what crumbling means in the lifting sense will be you getting injured. So the thing is, regardless of all the tips I'm about to tell you, if you were to just deadlift every week, almost no matter what you do, unless you're incredibly stupid, your deadlift will increase, okay? Injury is the real enemy. So pretty much no matter what you do, your deadlift is probably going to increase as long as you're staying injury free. Injury is really the only factor which can just completely wipe you out. Off the bat there, staying injury free is going to be the most important thing, and a thing that you're going to want to avoid like the plague. So everyone's form is going to vary, especially if you're doing sumo deadlifts, or if you're doing conventional deadlifts. It's going to vary based on your body type, your body shape. So for example, me, I've got long arms, so when I set up in the deadlift, I'm in a really upright stance, whereas someone else that sets up on the deadlift with shorter arms, their chest is going to be more towards the floor, just because they kind of have to reach down a bit further to grab the bar. So your setup is going to be different. So if you really are having problems with your setup, I would recommend possibly asking one of the personal trainers at your gym if they can just have a if they can just look at your form. I'd also then recommend getting a coach, but I'm going to get into this in my next tip. But yeah, making sure that your form is good is essentially the foundations, and that is going to set you up really nicely for the future. So if you're just starting out with a deadlift, I would say that take it slow. Don't go pushing for crazy PRs at first, because most beginners in the deadlift have a really bad form, and it's quite comical. You'll find this on a lot of like gym fail pages, people with that proper arched back, and yeah, you don't want that, because that is back problems by age 25. You don't want that. Me personally, because I started deadlifting quite young, I think I first started deadlifting when I was about 12 or 13, and because of my leverages, I always found the deadlift technique pretty easy. It always came to me pretty fast. So if this isn't the case for you, then just take a little bit longer with getting the form, because it's going to be essentially a present to your future lifting self, preventing yourself from all of those potentially career-ending injuries. Secondly, I would say step into the gym with a plan. Okay, so this may require you to get a coach. It may require you to find an online plan. So I have some online plans. I've got a power building plan, which is essentially a powerlifting plan mixed with a bodybuilding plan, allowing you to gain strength and size at the same time. So you can check that out. It's the first link in the description. But yeah, getting a coach, getting a plan, maybe possibly speaking to one of your friends who is a powerlifter and knows what they're talking about, things like that. Because I said that if you were to deadlift every week, pretty much no matter what you're doing, your deadlift would probably go up. Yes, that's true, but if you're watching this video, you probably want your training to be as optimal as possible. And if you're training stupidly, yes, your deadlift will go up, but it will probably start to slowly plateau, and you're gonna find it hard to break through some barriers because you're training incorrectly. So I'd say walking in the gym with a plan is very important, because especially with a deadlift, people seem to want to just step in the gym almost every week and hit 1 rep maxes and things like that, and that is really not ideal in terms of deadlifting. A 1 rep max is isn't really strength building, it's more of a strength test. If you have a coach, they'll probably prescribe you some run maxes throughout your training cycle. However, they'll probably rarely be maximal. They're not going to prescribe you an RPE 10 deadlift single like every other week if they're a coach with half a brain. So no, you don't want to go into the gym and deadlift 1 rep max every week. You want to essentially, in a general sense with deadlift programming, what you'll find in almost every coach's program is that the volume will kind of go like this. Okay, you'll start off the plan higher volume. You know, maybe doing something like 4 sets of 10, 3 sets of 10, depending on obviously your training experience. But you'll start off with higher volume. This is to build some muscle. This is to, you know, really get that progressive overload. And then slowly as the plan goes on, the volume per set, the reps per set will decrease. And this is to prime your central nervous system primarily to handle, you know, larger weights so that you can, you know, be peaked to exert maximal force for a single rep, because that's the point of powerlifting. That's the point of, you know, you're trying to increase your deadlift max, so you're trying to put, you know, as much force as possible into a single set. So slowly decreasing the reps per set is going to allow your body to become more accustomed to dealing with heavier weights, and then this is going to help you when you go for your 1 rep max. So that's what you'll find in most coaches' plans and most plans in general. But again, get a coach, because this is like loose and vague. This isn't, you know, specifically what you want to do every single week. So yeah, get a coach or get a plan or something like that. Me personally, at my stage of my lifting career, I can kind of go into the gym and intuitively, you know, kind of build a plan for myself. But if I was to go and start prepping for a powerlifting meet, I would 100% get a coach and get a plan. No matter what stage of your lifting career you are, you'll find that people have coaches, okay? Even people who coach other people have coaches. So you never get to the point where you know everything. You always need to be still hungry for knowledge and being able to be teachable, because you're not perfect. You're not going to have, you know, the best form ever. Thirdly, I would actually say, this is my personal opinion, some people might disagree with me. Thirdly, I would say stop deadlifting so much. For a lot of the other lifts, you know, the squat, the bench press, you could do them 2, 3, 4 times a week and still get good results, because they're a bit easier to recover from. But for deadlifts, I would not recommend anyone doing them any more than 2 times a week. In fact, me personally, throughout my whole lifting career, in terms of doing, you know, regular conventional deadlifts, I only do them once a week. And this is because when it comes to deadlifts, I personally, because with deadlifts, you're essentially handling, well, for most people, the largest load of the 3 lifts. That's going to be the heaviest amount of absolute weight. So this is going to tax your body more than any of the other lifts. So for me, if I deadlift multiple times per week, right, I am going to find it harder to recover from that, and then in the next session be able to do something that is also, you know, producing progressive overload, because I haven't recovered. The fatigue buildup is just, you know, too much. So for me personally, I wouldn't deadlift any more than probably twice a week. So deadlifting, you know, more often is probably gonna be good in terms of form, you know, getting your form. I'd probably recommend this at the beginning, but as you progress, there are even some powerlifters that deadlift every 2 weeks, deadlift every 3 weeks, because the deadlift, it's that taxing on your body when you do it maximally and when you kind of push it to the higher RPEs. A lot of guys train in lower RPEs a lot of the time, which is good, which is smart. It prevents injury and things like that, but you really want to be pushing to that progressive overload, so you're going to have to go to the higher RPEs occasionally. So when you do that, you don't want to be doing that multiple times a week. So essentially, I would recommend deadlifting once a week, and then on a second day during the week, this is another tip, do a form of deadlift variation. So there are many types of deadlift variations. You've got Romanian deadlifts or stiff-legged deadlifts. You've got pause deadlifts, where you pause usually right below the shins, or sometimes you pause straight off the floor. It can vary. You can, you know, pick different pauses. You'll often pause where your sticking point is. So for me personally, my sticking point is right beneath the knees. If you don't know what sticking point is, a sticking point is essentially where your lift typically gets stuck. So for a lot of people, you know, you might have a sticking point right off the ground, so you might do a pause deadlift from right off the ground. As soon as you pick the bar up off the ground, you'll pause and then explode, because the more time you spend in that position, the stronger you're going to get in that position. Essentially, pause deadlifts are really important. And the thing is also with deadlifts, another tip I'll give is don't overload it on the straight deadlift volume, because again, deadlifts are hard to recover from because of the absolute load you're putting on your body. So in that sense, I would do what I personally do. Again, other people have different methods, and that works worked for them. But in terms of what's worked for me, I have a lower volume approach to doing actual deadlifts, and then I'll supplement that volume with doing a form of deadlift variation, which I'll do with higher volume. It might be RDLs, Romanian deadlifts, it could be pause deadlifts. But yeah, I don't do a ton of volume for deadlifts because me personally, I get too fatigued. Some people can handle more fatigue, so you're gonna need to learn your body. But for me personally, I try to keep the fatigue lower so I can continue to progress. Another tip I would give for deadlifts is not trying to bulk up too fast, and that's because in my personal experience, looking at other lifters and looking at myself also, your weight and your deadlift strength are not necessarily correlated. When it comes to bench press, it seems like typically if you gain weight, your bench press is probably gonna go up. When it comes to squats, when you gain weight, your squat's probably going to go up also because, you know, you've got more cushion, your leverages for the squat get better, and yeah, gaining weight is probably gonna lead to a better squat. But for deadlifts, gaining weight actually typically gives you worse leverages for deadlifts. First of all, your stomach is going to put your stomach out, so the lift is going to be further in front of you, so it's going to be a longer distance for the bar to travel if the bar is out in front of you compared to if you had a more streamlined waist. Also, this is something that a lot of people underrate, but for example, when Larry Wheels gained weight, he said that his hands got bigger and he found it harder to grip the bar, and his grip got worse because his hands essentially just got fatter. So again, with your hand, if you gain a ton of weight, you might find it harder to grip the bar. And it will also, if you gain a lot of weight, it will just change the way that you lift. It will change the way you have to lift. You might have to widen your stance because, you know, you've got a gut now and things like that. So I wouldn't recommend gaining a bunch of weight. I gained a significant amount of weight. I gained about 8 kilos in the space of, you know, like 2 months or so, and it didn't translate that much to deadlift strength. I got stronger, but I definitely got way stronger on my squat, for example. My squat blew up in this period. From October to like December, January last year is when I, you know, put on a lot of weight and my squat went through the roof. Yeah, it went from about maybe 200, 205 to 220 for a triple, and then 272.5 for a double, so it definitely went up a lot. But my deadlift went up, but the two are definitely not correlated. Also, you'll see that in powerlifting, the squat seems to go up every single weight class. Every single weight class, the squat record goes up. The bench press, every single weight class, the bench press will go up. And when it comes to deadlifts, you often see that like the 140 kilo plus guys sometimes don't deadlift as much as the 120 kilo guys because their leverages are just so much worse for it. So yeah, gaining weight and gaining strength in the deadlift are not necessarily correlated. That's why also when a lot of people have asked me, oh Nathaniel, you lost weight but your deadlift went up, how does this happen? Again, as I said, your weight and your deadlift strength are not necessarily correlated. The two don't necessarily go hand in hand. As a general rule of thumb, yes, a bigger body is a stronger body, a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle, but if you put on a load of fat, that's probably not going to give you that much of a mechanical advantage for the deadlift compared to other lifts. But yeah guys, those are my main tips for the deadlift. I didn't get ultra specific. If you want a specific deadlift video on, you know, how to do the exact deadlift form for conventional deadlifts or sumo deadlifts, you can find those on YouTube, or, you know, if you ask me in the comments, I might make one myself for conventional because I personally don't do sumo. Nothing wrong with doing sumo also. But yeah, so if you guys enjoyed this video and you want me to do more of them, the deadlift is really like my speciality, I would say. So I definitely, I think, got a bit more knowledge for deadlifts than I have got for like squat and bench press, although I do think I've got some knowledge in those also. So if you want this to be like more of a series, you want me to do more of these, then let me know in the comments. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, also let me know. And yeah, also make sure you guys follow me on Instagram, make sure you guys purchase my training plans. I've got a bunch on there, so click the first link in the description. The reason why I'm still up now and able to deliver this video to you is because I had my proteins pre-workout, which is still coursing through my veins at this point. So also use my protein code NATE35 for 35% off. With the clothes I'm wearing are Gymshark, so if you want to shop Gymshark, use my link in the description. And yeah, anyways, I'll see you guys in a bit.